Welcome to everyone who's joining. Just a couple of housekeeping items for today's webinar. You do not need access to a microphone or a web camera as long as you have computer audio and you can hear my voice right now and see the screen that we're sharing with you. You're all ready to go. We will be collecting Q&A at the tail end of today's webinar, answering any questions that you may have about our Vista Viewpoint integration that we've recently released. In order to submit Q&As as they come up, if you have questions, feel free to submit those just down at the bottom of the screen. We ask for you just to submit those through the Q&A rather than the chat, just so we kind of have an organized way to approach the questions as they come in. So I guess we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off today. So welcome to the Flashtract Vista Viewpoint integration. Matt, if you go ahead and kick over to the next slide for us. In order to kind of get things started, I wanted to just kind of let everyone know who's going to be presenting today from the Flashtract team. So to kind of kick things off, we have Matt Kelly. He's an implementation consultant here at Flashtract. He's worked with dozens of contractors to implement Flashtract into their existing ERP systems, and he will be the one mostly presenting today and talking through the benefits of the integration, as well as actually how the integration works inside of our system. We also brought Mike Valit. He is a product manager here at Flashtract. He oversees integrations and integration strategy. He's worked with us on the Sage 300 CRE integration, Procore integration, and now the Vista Viewpoint integration. So wanted to bring him along to answer questions at the tail end. So if you have anything related to the technical side of how this integration works, how it works with your Vista instance, please feel free to submit those questions. And then myself, Ben Connery, head of customer success here at Flashtract. We're super excited to be diving into this integration that we have for you today. So just to kind of give you an overview of what we'll be covering during the webinar from an agenda perspective, we're going to give a integration overview, so how the integration works. We'll be giving you a kind of a diagram of what sort of data is being passed between two systems. We'll talk about the benefits of leveraging integrations between Flashtract and your ERP system, as well as a process flow, just showing you how things get started inside your accounting system, how they flow into Flashtract, and how they ultimately get pushed back to that system of record. We'll then jump into a live product demo just to show you kind of how this would work in live action, as well as on the tail end, we'll talk about some of the configuration options and levels of kind of configurability that we have as it relates to this integration. And then at the end, we'll have time for Q&A. I know we have about an hour allocated for the webinar today. I think we'll probably get through it much quicker than that. And at the tail end, there should be plenty of time for questions. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to the very own Matt Kelly to kind of get things started with the integration overview.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. So the integration between Flashtract and Vista Viewpoint, that's going to be a real-time API connected integration. And we are a strategic partner with Viewpoint, so we've collaborated together to make this integration. And this is something that's going to be available for both on-prem and cloud-hosted solutions, and we can get this implemented for you guys in less than 30 days. So from Viewpoint, we're going to bring over jobs, subcontracts, change orders, vendors. Those will all be imported into Flashtract. And then once your subs have actually billed against those contracts in Flashtract, we can push those invoices back into Viewpoint. So here's just a data mapping diagram, just showing how things come from Vista into Flashtract. So the jobs that are in Vista, those come over to Flashtract as projects. And then the vendors over from there will also come into Flashtract as vendors, but we also call those organizations. And then the subcontracts that you set up in Vista will come over into Flashtract as contracts. Change orders will come over as change orders. And then again, once those invoices are approved in Flashtract, we can push those back to the AP invoices module, and we'll also include all of the related attachments. So any pay apps or lien waivers or anything like that that went along with the submission of that pay app. So just to go over the benefits of using Flashtract with your ERP system. So we're going to provide a real-time import of that project data. So as soon as it's created in Vista, it'll start coming over into Flashtract. You don't need to go in each time and import it or manually enter it again. You're really going to build confidence knowing that subs are billing against the most accurate and up-to-date accounting data. So you know that your subs aren't going to be overbilling on their contracts. They're not going to be billing against unapproved change orders. If it hasn't been created and approved in Vista, it's not going to come over into Flashtract. And then we really reduce the human error or any kind of double data or manual data entry. We automatically do all of the math for your subs. So they really just enter in the percentages that they want to bill. And with that, we calculate all that math. So you don't have to worry about missing numbers or incorrect calculations, things like that. And we really also just increase the visibility across internal teams. You're not going to have to call your PM to ask them if they've approved this change order yet and it's okay for the sub to bill against it. All of this is just going to be seamlessly passed between the systems. So that way you just know that everything that's inside of Flashtract is accurate. And this will really streamline the approval process for you as well. So when you set up the documents that are required, you're going to make sure that they're not missing any lien waivers, that they're not filling out their pay app incorrectly, and that they're not missing any compliance items or things like that, because these are all set up as requirements in Flashtract, so you won't have to track those down. So just to go over the process flow. So once you link the project from Vista into Flashtract, and this can be done either on demand or an auto sync, meaning you pick and choose which jobs you're going to bring over, or we can just automatically bring in new jobs as soon as they're created. Once it comes over into Flashtract, the contracts, as well as the vendors, change orders, everything like that will flow into Flashtract. And then you can invite your sub to work on it with you. So the sub will log in, they'll create their schedule of values, and they'll break that schedule of values down to a more granular level of detail. And then in order to push that back into Vista, we're going to need to map them to the accounting lines so that we know how to allocate those costs as the sub bills against it. So once the sub submits their pay application through Flashtract, you'll receive a notification. You can log in, review what they submitted, see all the documents that came in as well. And then you can approve that application directly in Flashtract. And then once it's approved, that data can be pushed back into Vista. So again, the invoice information, as well as all of the documents that were associated with that pay app submission. And again, once that link is formed between the project in Vista and Flashtract, data is just going to seamlessly flow into Flashtract. You don't have to worry about going back in and pulling the data again. It's just going to come over as it's created. So now I'm going to get into a product demo and just show you how this is going to work in Flashtract. So inside of Flashtract, this is your dashboard. So this is where you can see all of your active projects. So if you want to bring over a new job from Vista, you can just come over here to integrations and then click Start Import. And again, this is an example where you're picking and choosing which jobs that you want to bring in as opposed to just having all new jobs automatically come in. So you can filter here or search for a project number, a project name, or the import status. So you could just filter to has not been imported to find the jobs that haven't yet been synced. And you can just select those jobs, click next, and then click import. So after that happens, you can just click here and you can see that the new job came over. So I already have a job set up in the interest of time. So I'm just going to click into this job right here. So once you click into the job, here's where you can see all of your subcontracts on the job. These are all brought over directly from Vista, so it has the contract amount. If they've billed before already, brings over the vendor as well. So I'm just going to click into one of these real quick. So this kind of brings you into the contract overview screen. So here you have your vendor that's assigned, and again, this is pulled directly from Vista. We have our contract overview, where we have just the high-level info on the contract. So the original contract amount, any change orders that would have been brought over, how much they've billed, and so on. And then over here on the submission attachments, we have these active rules. So these are the rules that you set up for what you want to collect with each submission from the subs. So for this, I just have an AIA pay app, a California partial conditional, and a California final conditional. But we can accommodate any pay app or lien waiver. If they're custom, we can create them and add them in here for you. So on this one, I already sent the invite off to the subcontractor. So what I'm going to do now to give you an idea of what it looks like from the subcontractor's point of view is I'm going to log out of my general contractor account and log into my subcontractor account. So when the sub logs in, it looks really similar to what you would see. And here you can see they have this project, so they can go ahead and accept that project. And then again, looks similar to what you would see, but they only can see their contract. So they can click in there, accept that. And then the first thing that they're going to notice is that their schedule of values is incomplete. So they can come down here to this line items box, and they can manually create their line items just one by one, adding line items, or they can actually just upload it from a spreadsheet if they already have it in Excel. So they can just click upload from spreadsheet. We also have a template here that they can download to fill out, but I already have one filled out, so I'm just gonna find it. You upload that, and then you click create line items. And what that's going to do is just import that schedule of values directly from that Excel sheet into Flashtract. So I'm just going to click save. And at this point, the schedule of values is set up. So when the sub wants to start billing, they can just come in here and click this edit invoice items button. They can scroll down to their schedule of values. They can type in a dollar amount they want to bill, a material stored amount if they have stored materials, or they can just put in a percentage and we'll just back into that dollar amount for them. Again, doing all of the math for them, calculating the percentages, dollar amounts, retainage, everything like that. So once they're ready preparing their bill, they can just come in and click save. And now typically they'd be able to review their documents and submit their bill. But when they hover over this and it's grayed out, it's letting them know that they're out of compliance. And it's saying that they need to click on compliance status. So what they can do is come over here to this compliance status, find their COI, click here, and realize that this is what they need to upload. So they can just click upload compliance document, find their certificate of insurance, enter in an expiration date, and now this certificate of insurance is pending review of the GC. So they can close out of that, and now this is not grayed out anymore, and they can submit their bill. So what they can do is they can click review documents and submit bill. And then similar to a DocuSign, we're compliant with e-sign laws. We just have them enter in a 4-digit PIN to confirm their identity. So they just enter that in, click sign document. And that's the AIA Pay app automatically generated. We have the cover sheet here with all the values filled out, the continuation sheet. So the schedule of values is here as well. Then they can go to the partial lien waiver that was also automatically generated with all of the relevant project data. They can sign that document. And then when they're ready to submit their bill, they just come over here and click submit. So now this pay app was submitted and sent to the GC for approval. So from here, what I can do is I'm going to log out of my subcontractor account and log into my GC account just to show you what that looks like. So here on this project, you can see it lets you know which projects have pay apps pending approval. So I can just click on that. And you can see the status here on this contract is updated, pending approval. So I can just click in there. So here you can look at this. You can come down and see on the schedule of values what exactly they billed for this period. You can also come over here to the submission attachments and view anything they submitted. So you could just take a look at that, make sure it all looks good. Again, all of the math should be correct since we're calculating it all in the system, reducing any math errors or any issues like that. You can come over here into this compliance status. You can see that it's pending your review. You can click on it, review it. If the COI looks good to you, you can come here, mark this as compliant, close out of that. And then when you're ready to approve the bill, All you need to do is come in and just click on this approve bill button. And now that this bill is approved, it's ready to be pushed back into Vista. So with that, all you need to do is come over here to integrations, click on start export. And here you can see the pay apps that are currently here. So on this screen, you can filter by the contract name, the vendor, the project, the pay period, submission date, and export status as well. So this is really helpful for letting you know what you haven't exported back yet. So you could just filter to has not been exported. And then we also have up here this pay period control. And really what this allows you to do is enter in what we call pay control number. And really what this is this is a way for you to relate these submissions back to your owner bills. So if you put in, this is the first owner bill, you'll be able to know once you get paid for your first owner bill that corresponded to these submissions that you exported. That way you know which invoices from your subs would get paid out after you get paid. So I can just select what I want to export, click confirm selections, and then hit complete exports. And that's going to push it back to Vista. And again, that's the invoice information related to how much they billed, retainage, everything like that. And then on top of that, we're also pushing back all of the documents that were associated with that submission. So going back to the slide deck. For those different configuration options, for the job sync, I've touched on this already, but you can have an auto import of newly created jobs. And this really creates the integration process completely hands-off and seamless. As new jobs are created inside of Vista, those will just get brought over into Flashtract. And then you also could choose to have an on-demand sync where you really just pick and choose which projects that you want to bring over into Flashtract. And that's really good if you're, maybe you put bids inside of Vista and you might not necessarily win the bid. So it's really just up to you and your business process for whether you just want the import to just be automatic or if you want to have a little bit more control over which jobs come over. And then as far as the schedule of values creation, the accounting lines can come over as the schedule of values. So if your accounting lines in Vista are really broken down to that lower level of detail, where it doesn't need to be broken out into any more granular level, you can just bring that directly over into Flashtract as the schedule of values, as opposed to what I did in the demo where I had the sub create the schedule of values. So you can do either of those. It just depends on which level of detail your accounting lines are broken out to inside of Vista. And then the SOV also can be created by the GC as well. So it's really just up to your business process whether you want to create the SOV for your subs or if you want the subs to create the SOVs. So if you guys are interested in learning more or want a more in-depth demo to see everything that Flashtract can do, you can feel free to reach out to us. You can email Ben Connery, who's on the call right now. But with that, I'm going to open it up to Q&A.
Looks like we have one question in here, Matt, around document management about would the sub need to print and have it notarized, or can they do that electronically?
So that's up to you. So I would say the vast majority of our customers, they do just have them electronically sign it. As far as whether or not you want to have your subs download it, print it out, sign it, notarize it, and re-upload it, we do have that option. But I would say that most people do just go with the e-sign option.
It looks like we have a question here from Lee about the process inside of Vista. Lee, could you expand on that a little bit in terms of how you get the data back in the invoices in Vista themselves? Or like how frequently, is that the question? And while he posts his follow-up, Matt, we have another one about sub-tier compliance and releases?
Yeah, we do have a way to track sub-tier compliance items, as well as lien waivers, notice of furnishing, things like that. That can be tracked on inside of Flashtract, where you can have your sub upload a vendor list. So they'll have to upload the name of their supplier or subcontractor of the second tier subcontractor, as well as the contact info there. And then just as they get those, they would upload those as well.
Thanks, Matt. And then Lee, thanks for your follow-up. So the way that Vista works in terms of bringing in external invoices, they do have like a batch system that would require someone to, say they wanted to process, but it would not be on an invoice by invoice basis. When you wanted to bring in all the ones you marked for export and Flashtract, it would just be a one-time activity to process that batch.
Hey, and Mike, just to jump in to follow on Matt's answer regarding the sub-tier contractor tracking. So you also have the ability to track these specific suppliers electronically inside of Flashtract. You can have your subcontractors list out those sub-tier contractors and suppliers, or you can add those into the system as you get a notice of furnishing or notice of commencement, for example. And then inside the system, you can track progress waivers from those lower tier contractors based on pay period, as well as the final waiver. So you can track that electronically in the system regarding sub-tier contractors, their contact information, and their billing documents. But you also have the ability to track that through the vendor list, like Matt was talking about a little bit earlier.
We have another non-integration question here. So can Flashtract create a PDF with the entire subcontractor drop package, including AIA, waiver, insurance certificate, certified payroll, and sworn statement?
Yeah, so in Flashtract, there's a couple different options for that. You are able to, we have a reports feature where you can go in and choose a project, a pay period, and which documents as far as you want to pull in, and we can automatically generate a combined PDF for each one of your subcontracts. We also have what we call document forwarding, where what we can do is on the final approval of a pay app is we can forward along both a combined PDF as well as all of those documents individually to an email you're choosing. So a lot of people will use an AP at their company email address, and that way you can just automatically get those as well.
Thanks, Matt. I have a question here. Are you pulling compliance from Vista? At the moment, we don't have compliance included in the integration, but it is something that we'll be planning to add on as an enhancement. Information coming from Vista, like Matt said, is just automated hands-off import of the projects, contracts, change orders, and vendors. All right. Looks like that's a Q&A, Ben.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we just want to say thank you to everyone that attended the Flashtract Vista Viewpoint integration webinar today. Like Matt said, if you have any questions or if you would like to learn more, see a fuller demo of Flashtract, what this data looks like inside of Viewpoint, and want to unpack that at a more technical level, we're happy to dive into that. Also, if you have non-Vista related questions like we did earlier today regarding the compiled document report or how we handle e-notary or how we handle sub-tier contractors, feel free to email us. We'd love to answer those questions for you. So with that, this will be the conclusion of the Flashtract Vista Viewpoint integration webinar. So we hope everyone has a fantastic day and a great weekend coming up here shortly. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.